Hey guys, welcome to lesson number 22. Today's unit, we're going to start looking at angles in a coordinate plane. The next few units are going to be all about these different angles that we can draw on an XY grid. And so today, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at drawing these angles when we're talking about degrees. Eventually, we're going to talk about something else called radians, but for now, it's just going to look at degrees. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and label your four quadrants, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, when we're labeling our quadrants, we always go in like a C pattern is the way that I think about it. So that we draw this C. So I start here with first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, fourth quadrant. Okay, so it creates that C. And so this is one thing that we're gonna have to think about and know when we're talking about drawing angles on a coordinate plane is what quadrant is what. So, like I said, we're going to look at drawing these angles. So first of all, remember that an angle is simply a vertex with two sides. Okay, with these two rays coming out from this vertex, that is what creates an angle. And so that's what we're going to talk about when we are talking about angles in a coordinate plane. So it says here an angle is in standard position. Okay, so this is everything we're going to use when we're talking about angles on a coordinate plane. We're going to talk about them in standard position. So it's in standard position if the vertex of the angle, so right here, this point, is at the origin, so 0, 0, and its initial side. So when we're talking about these angles, we have an initial side and we have a terminal side. Terminal side just means the side that stops. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate around to create our angles. So initial is where we're starting. That's always going to be on the positive x-axis here. And then we're going to rotate to get to our terminal side, which is our side that we stop at. Okay, so it says the initial side lies on this positive x-axis. And so like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate around kind of in a circle to create our angle. And so when I'm rotating, okay, we can rotate two different directions. We can rotate counterclockwise, okay, so the opposite of a clock, and that is going to give us a positive angle. Or if we have a negative angle, we're going to rotate clockwise. So if you look here, okay, so if I start at my initial side and I start rotating, if I get up here to this positive y, that's 90 degrees, okay, because I'm creating this 90-degree angle. If I keep rotating, we should know a full rotation around a circle is 360 degrees. So if I keep rotating, this is going to be 180 degrees. This is going to be 270 degrees. If I get all the way back over here, this is going to be 360 degrees. If I go the opposite direction, if I go clockwise, that just makes it negative. So if I start at the initial side and I rotate here, this is going to be negative 90 degrees. This is going to be negative 180 degrees. If I keep going, this is going to be negative 270 degrees. And then back over here, negative 360 degrees. Okay, and so it depends on which way we rotate, whether it's positive or it's negative. So if I want to look at a 135-degree angle, it's positive, so I'm rotating counterclockwise. I'm going past 90 degrees, but I'm not quite getting to 180 degrees. And so this 135 is going to fall somewhere here between 90 and 180. Then if I go the other direction, these two angles are the exact same thing, 135 and negative 225. Because if I think about negative 225, I'm just going to rotate clockwise. I'm going past negative 90, I'm going past negative 180, and negative 225 falls somewhere between negative 180 and negative 270. And so again, it gives us that same angle. There's multiple different angles that gives us the same terminal side. It's just how far we're rotating and which direction we're rotating. All right, and so that's the two main things that we're looking at here. We're looking at direction. So are you going clockwise or counterclockwise? And we're looking at how far. So what is the degree? Is it telling us to rotate 135 or 230 or 380? So those are the two main things that we're looking at. So let's look at this first example here. Okay, and so it says draw an angle that is 210 degrees, okay, in standard form. So standard form, again, just tells us that the vertex is here at the origin, and then our initial side's on the positive x. That's already here for you. So 210 is positive, so we know we're rotating counterclockwise. Again, here's my 90. When I get over here, it's 180, 270, so I'm adding 90 degrees as I go around here. So I know 210 is going to fall somewhere right here between 180 and 270. Okay, so that tells me that my angle, okay, it's going to rotate around 90, 180 until it gets right around here at 210 degrees. Okay, so this is my 210 degree angle. Now, if you look down below here, we have this thing, and this is going to be really important for us as we move forward. We have this thing called a reference angle. Okay, and so you have your standard angle here that you're drawing. We also have the reference angle. So it says a reference angle is the acute angle. So notice here, acute angle, meaning it's always less than 90, between the terminal side and the x-axis. Okay, so if I look at this angle here, notice my terminal side is where I stop. So here's my terminal side. So it says the reference angle is always between the terminal side and the x-axis. And so if I look at this angle here between the terminal side, which is this side here, and the x-axis, so that's going to be this angle that's created right here. And so when it's asking for the reference angle, it's always going to be whatever this smaller acute angle is created between the x-axis and our terminal side. Okay, so since I just drew a 210 degree angle, we can find what this reference angle is. Well, think about that. If it took me 180 to get to here, how much further did I go to get to 210? Well, we add 30 more degrees. And so my reference angle for a 210 degree angle is going to be 30 degrees. Okay, so we're going to be able to draw this 210 degree angle, but then we're also going to need to be able to find that reference angle. All right, let's look at this next example. So we have 130 degrees. Again, it's positive, so I know I'm going counterclockwise. Here's my 90. Here's my 180. So I know I'm going past 90. I'm not making it to 180. All right, so I'm going to rotate about 40, not about, exactly 40 degrees past 90 degrees. So right here, again, show your direction that you're rotating. Okay, so show that you're going the positive, the counterclockwise. And then the only other thing we're going to have to do here is show what the reference angle is. Okay, so again, remember, reference angle is this angle created by the terminal side, which is here, and the x-axis, which is here. So it's this angle right here. So I know that I went 130 degrees. So how much further did I have to go to get to 180? I know that this angle here is going to be 50 degrees. Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. 75 degrees. But notice here, now we're going negative. Okay, so now we're starting at the initial side here and we're going clockwise. So we're rotating down here. So now, if I'm rotating this way, this is actually going to be my negative 90 degrees. This is going to be my negative 180. This will be my negative 270, negative 360, and I can keep going. All right, so if I'm going negative 75, I'm starting here at 0. I don't make it to negative 90. So my angle is going to be somewhere right here. Okay, rotating this direction. Then the only other thing that it's asking for is our reference angle. So remember, the reference angle is that angle created by the terminal side and the x-axis. So that's going to be this angle right here. Well, this one's pretty straightforward because it's the same as the original. The reference angle is always acute. It's always positive. Okay, and so even though my original angle that I'm drawing is negative 75 degrees, this angle that's created right here is just a positive 75 degrees. Okay, so it's always positive when we're talking about a reference angle. Next one, positive 384 degrees. Okay, so again, positive means I'm rotating this direction, counterclockwise. Now, 384 degrees, we know that that's more than a full circle. So a full circle is 360. So I'm going 24 degrees past a full circle. And so what that tells me is I'm going to rotate all the way around my circle and then go just another 24 degrees. So somewhere right around here. So that's the same thing as a 24-degree angle, but it's a little bit different. The terminal side's in the same spot, but it's a different angle. Okay, so it's a full rotation around the circle and then another 24 degrees. And so then when we're talking about reference angle, it's the angle created by terminal side and x-axis right here. And so that's just this 24 degrees that we went past. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about here is this term called coterminal. Okay, coterminal. That simply means, kind of like it sounds, coterminal. Co-captains are two people that are the captains. Coterminal is two angles that have the same terminal side. Okay, so it's two different angles that have their terminal side in the exact same spot. Well, we just talked about that. We just talked about how 24 degrees and 384 degrees both have this same terminal side. We also talked about at the beginning how 135 degrees and negative 225 degrees both have their terminal side in this same spot. Okay, so we can have multiple different angles that have that same terminal side, and that's exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about this term coterminal. All right, and so if I think about that, we want to think about a 150-degree angle. So I'm going to draw that real quick. So initial side on the positive x-axis, 150 is going to be past 90 degrees, but not quite to 180 degrees. So it's going to be this angle right here. Now, if we think about what gives us the same terminal side, well, when I think about that, if I go all the way around the circle here, so let's say I just continue on and go all the way and make a full circle and come back to the same spot. Or let's say I go the other direction and make a full circle and come back to the same spot. That's what's going to create this coterminal angle. Well, what degree is a full circle? 360 degrees. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add or subtract this full circle to create coterminal angles. Okay, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this 150 degrees that we have, and if we add 360 to it, that gives me this 510-degree angle. 510 is coterminal to 150, because if I take 150, add a full circle 360 to it, it's going to bring me right back to the same spot. The other thing we can do is we can take 150 and we can subtract 360 from it. So I can go 150 and then I can go clockwise and subtract 360 from it. And that's also going to put me in the same spot. And so we can do the same thing here, and that's going to give me negative 210 degrees, which is also coterminal. Okay, so it gives me one positive answer, one negative answer. Same thing over here, negative 300 degrees. So negative means I'm going clockwise. 300 is more than 270, but less than 360, so it's going to put me right here. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing. So in order to get a positive coterminal and a negative coterminal, I'm going to add 360 to it. I'm going to subtract 360 from it. Okay. Now, we can add or subtract any number, any multiple of 360. So 360, 720, 1080, any of those full circles. So 1 full circle, 2 full circles, 3 full circles. And so what that's going to give me here is 60 degrees. So going from here to here is giving me a coterminal angle, or negative 660 degrees is going to give me a coterminal angle. Okay, so we can add or subtract 360, 720, any of those numbers, that it gives us a full circle that takes us back to the same spot. All right, I want you guys to pause your video and go ahead and work through these examples here. When you unpause it, I will have the answers there for you. All right, here are your answers. So you should get B, C, A. Down here, we draw our angle. So 870 is actually 2 full rotations going counterclockwise, and then another 150. Negative 60 is going clockwise, just 60 degrees. So we have a reference angle over here of 30, reference angle over here of 60. And then remember, we can add or subtract any 360, 720, 1080 to get to our positive and negative coterminal angles. Remember, negative coterminal is not just meaning subtract 360. It means that your number here, your angle here, actually has to be negative. All right, go ahead and do your lesson number 22 practice.